Hello, delighted to be with you today. My name is Ian Morley from the Regenerative Medical Group. We're also very fortunate to have with us Dr. Suhail Hussain, who's a leading practitioner in private medical practice. Dr. Hussain, if you'd just like to introduce yourself to everyone.
Hi, Ian. Thank you, and pleasure to be here as well. So, I've been a GP for 20 years, and in the last 4 years, I've been working solely privately, seeing individuals and families, helping them with all of their medical needs and requirements, primarily on a home visiting basis.
One of the things that I think you've seen, I've seen, and maybe all men secretly know is that women take care of their health and men don't. What's the reason for that? What is your perception of this?
So, classically, the British stereotype stiff upper lip, keep things bottled up, don't share with others. Unfortunately, men are far more prone to behave in that way, to not share problems, to not discuss issues, particularly medical issues. They feel they should just soldier on, carry on regardless, keep up with their work, with their day-to-day responsibilities, and they just bottle all this stuff up inside them, and they continue to suffer in silence. And then that is actually very dangerous from a medical and physical and mental perspective. So this is something that we really should address and try and get men to open up more. As you say, women are far more receptive to discussing health issues. They may often see their GP on a monthly basis for cycle issues, or when they're pregnant, or during the menopause. So there's several opportunities for women to consult the doctor, whereas men don't have these natural opportunities, and then they tend to not go in at all, even when a problem arises.
You're a man, I'm a man. And we know some men are hypochondriacs, but most men do seem to adopt this sort of stoic, I'm all right, Jack type of approach to life. What would you suggest they do as a basic thing if they've got any concerns? Where would they start?
So one, I think, is being reactive if a problem occurs. But I think more importantly, that is we should start to develop proactive attitude to health. So keeping well when even there doesn't appear to be anything wrong. So thinking about what we eat, how we exercise, how we move, how we get outside, how we interact with our environment. All of these type of things are absolutely fundamental in addressing health before it becomes ill health. So keeping us well rather than preventing illness is such a key phenomenon that we don't really engage in. And since I've been working privately in the last 4 years, I have been switching more to this sort of holistic type of practice where we try and identify and deal with problems before they become an issue. So, A, being proactive, but B, encouraging men to say, it's not a problem to discuss things. Don't feel shy, don't feel embarrassed, don't feel that you're weak because you have an issue. Please feel open and feel ready to come and talk to the doctor about it, because we will find that in the vast majority of cases, the whole host of doctors are happy to discuss it. They won't judge you at all.
And look, I'm a man of a certain age. Not so long ago, I woke up one morning, had a shower, and there was like a small lump of butter sitting at the front of my stomach.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, what's this? So I called up the doctor, and they came. I went in to see them, and they said, oh, you've got a hernia. I'd heard of hernias before, but I'd never actually seen one. But I got it dealt with, and I
Yeah.
went in. I had the surgery, and it was dealt with. So, what sort of things should men be looking at, depending on their age range, in terms of any indicative signs? I mean, going to the bathroom too often, any signs of pain, any physical changes? What are the normal things? I mean, before they even have the courage to come and see you, what should
Mm.
they be looking for themselves?
So, yeah, really important. And I'm so glad you mentioned a personal anecdote. Always helpful to hear about anecdotes from individuals. So, obviously, if you find a lump or a swelling somewhere, so for example, regular testicular checks for men of almost any age, literally from your late teens up until your 70s, 80s, monthly, check your testicles, see if there's any lumps or swelling or abnormalities. So, just getting into that habit of checking your body yourself. So, that's number one. Number two, what are we doing in terms of mental health, being ourselves well from a mental perspective? Are we stressed at work? Are there issues going on in our relationships? Are there other issues with our colleagues, with our peers? Are we constantly judging ourselves? So from a mental health perspective, really important to think about that. So anything that you can do where you're checking in on yourself. So for example, do you do something like journaling? Do you document your thoughts during the day in terms of mental health? And as I said, physical checks upon yourself, your testicular examination, after a certain age, it would be worthwhile getting your prostate checked because of issues with urinary problems and so on. So these type of things are really important for us to think about. And then if we want to break it down a bit more, men are particularly at risk of what we call metabolic syndrome. So developing insulin resistance, obesity, going on to lead to heart disease, diabetes, stroke, really, really serious issues that we need to be proactive about before they become a real problem.
And you bring up a very important issue there. Most men, I say most men, those that I know, personal experience, we deal with the things we can see. We don't deal with the things that we feel. But we're probably cognizant if we are smoking again, if we're drinking too much, if we are failing to deal with depression.
Mm.
What should be the first things we do there when we come and see you? What would we expect you to do to help treat us?
So, I mean, I offer a number of screenings where we can go through all of these, a detailed questionnaire in terms of your mental health, your physical health, your social issues. All of these type of things are important for us to lift the taboo around all of these topics and encourage men to talk openly and honestly about these problems, because it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign actually that you're being sensible and proactive about your health, because detecting a problem early or listening to a little warning sign that you may think nothing of may prevent long-term future problems, which is really, really significant for us to think about. So, A, being open, and B, understanding that your doctor is highly unlikely to be judgmental.
And without scaring anybody, I mean, what are the sort of top things that men may face, men and women, but particularly just men?
Yes, as I said, particularly vascular issues. So, cardiovascular issues, diabetes. Women are somewhat protected up until the menopause when they will start to experience these more, but men can experience these issues younger. So, I have actually instances of friends of mine, a very good friend of mine in late 30s, 38, he suffered a heart attack. Totally unexpected. Now, he was overweight, he didn't look after himself, but that is a huge impact on him, his family, his kids. So, we ignore these things at our peril.
And, I finally back up, put off courage. I call you. I come for an initial meeting and diagnosis. What happens? What test should I go through? How long will it roughly take? What will you be looking for?
So we will carry out a detailed questionnaire, as I said, prior to the appointment, where you will outline any problems that you have, but also look at things that you may wish to put into place. So do you want to change your diet? Would you like to work with a personal trainer? Would you like to work with a nutritionist? Then a thorough physical examination to include all your major systems, your cardiovascular system, your respiratory system, your neurological system, and your urological system. So the bits down below, that's really important to think about as well. So as I said, prostate, urinary problems, but also the taboo that we don't often address is erectile dysfunction. So that is a really big problem that is really not talked about at all.
Erectile dysfunction, sexual dysfunction, these are sort of really the taboo areas. I know we're going to talk about this in a subsequent interview, but what are just briefly touching on what are the initial signs you'd be looking for, or should a man be looking for in that area?
So again, it's about being open and honest, because this problem may have been noticed by your partner, by your wife, but it may not have been discussed because you're embarrassed, or she may be embarrassed to raise this topic with you. So have an open, honest discussion with your partner saying, have you noticed a problem? Because I've certainly noticed a problem. And the way that manifests in terms of what the man may experience is there'll be initially a difficulty maintaining an erection. So you can get an erection fine, but maintaining it becomes problematic. But as this progresses, and if it's not dealt with, then actually initiating an erection becomes a problem. And then I think at that point, your wife would probably say to you, look, what's happening? What's going on here? So before it comes to that point, talking openly about that and thinking about if it's a problem, how do we address it? Or what other steps can we take to try and manage that?
And two other short questions. One is, would you have access to my existing NHS records if you wanted to do a comparison? And then I guess the second one is roughly what are the costs for coming for an initial consultation?
So no, I wouldn't have access to your NHS record. You're quite welcome to share that with me. And in fact, that's very useful if there have been tests done via your NHS GP. I think it's always advisable to share records to have as complete a picture as possible. In terms of cost, it really depends what the interaction is. So for the basic screening that I do, the cost for that is 895, where we do the comprehensive assessment. But there are other ways that we can interact in terms of if we just wanted a simple consultation. But the health screen that I offer is 895.
Okay, that's great. All right. Well, thank you very much indeed, Dr. Hussain, for sharing this information with us. If you could also leave your contact details so anyone who wants to follow up directly with you is able to do that. So really appreciate your time, really appreciate your responses. And men, if you're listening, do something about your health and don't wait till it's too late. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.